Frank, thank you so much for taking the time. I hate to be the fan guy right off the bat, but let me say I am a huge fan of all your work. I've watched everything you've done, so gotta say it's a real honor to speak to you today.
Thanks, Damon. I appreciate it, brother.
So I had a chance to watch the new film, and I got to be honest, I wasn't sure what to expect, but I laughed so much during this movie. It was a great action adventure movie. Man, I tell you what, I didn't know you had those kind of comedy chops. I got to be honest.
I know. Listen, I'm a funny guy, and it took Joe Carnahan to say I'm going to believe that you could make me laugh. So I appreciate that.
Obviously you do a lot of action stuff, you do a lot of serious roles, and obviously you do a fantastic job in that. But was it fun to kind of do like action adventure but also kind of get to the comedy stuff, because again, that's not necessarily what you typically do, but it seemed like you're having so much fun in this movie.
Yeah, man. It's a great script, and Joe and I have been partners for about 4 years, and I did The Gray with him 10 years ago, and so there's a trust and a shorthand that we have with each other. And basically, in our real lives, all we do is laugh at the stupidest things all day. And so to get to do a movie and laugh at stupid things that we do in the movie is kind of and get paid. It's a real treat. So we had a ball making the movie, but we originally had 43 days to make it, and we got cut down to 27 days. So as much fun as we had during shooting, it was, as producers, it was not an easy task.
Wow, that's crazy. I mean, that's almost exactly half the time you had to make the movie.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how Joe managed to do it. I think if we didn't have each other, because we literally were boots on the ground producers, and it was either send 300 people home or figure a way. And we did. Look, I never want to do it again, but we did it. Yeah.
Now, when you get a project like this, I'm assuming you read the script, you get excited, but then you don't know exactly how it's all going to pan out. You ended up getting such a tremendous cast to work with, supporting you in this movie. I mean, I don't know. Again, you've worked with a lot of great people, but when you get a chance to do a movie like this, like, does it make it that much better when you can get that kind of supporting cast?
Yeah, look, I mean, absolutely. Joe and I, we have been trying to get this movie made for 10 years. So we were very familiar with what we wanted to do, how we wanted to execute it. But, because of who Joe is, I think, and a little bit of who I am in the business, I think, we were able to elevate the film by getting people like Mel Gibson, Naomi Watts, and Michelle Yeoh. And, it's, look, I'm not The Rock. And so to be able to surround me with top-notch actors and movie star like Mel Gibson, it makes the movie 1,000 times better.
Absolutely. Now, with that being said, I got to ask, when I first saw the trailer before I actually watched the movie, I'll be completely honest with you. I am a massive fan of Groundhog Day, one of my all-time favorite comedies. I love that movie. When I saw this, I was like, this is like a fun, I thought of me going into it, I was like, this is gonna be a fun like a Groundhog Day. It ended up being so much more, but I gotta ask, were you a fan of that when you read this script? Like, that was the first thing that popped in my mind.
It's one of my favorite movies of all time. It goes back and forth with another great movie called What About Bob? And so I love, those are two of my favorite movies. But the Groundhog Day element was what made the movie what it is. But instead of starting out with me discovering them in a loop, you come to me where I've already been killed 200 times. So I'm bored with it. So it's a little bit of we take a little bit of a turn for the audience in that matter. But yeah, listen, the whole movie is based, Groundhog Day was the basis of it.
Yeah. Now, with that being said, though, what I enjoyed about the movie really is there's also a lot of heart in this movie. It's not, I mean, obviously it's hilarious. There's a lot of really funny moments and some great action, of course. You'll watch you duck and dodge all the different, kill scenes was hilarious and all the different things going on. But there is real heart at the middle of this movie. I mean, again, you pick different projects for different reasons, but did that play a part in this one? Because this was beyond a comedy. It was beyond an action film. It was also, there's a lot of heart in this movie.
Yeah. And I mean, that's a great observation and very true. And by design. You know, it's like Joe and I, our mission statement is to make these great kind of, and this one is an homage to the 80s kind of over the top action films. But without heart, you know, these movies become a bit one dimensional. And, the little boy who plays my son is my real son. And that was an idea that Joe Carnahan had, because he said, look, we don't have time to manufacture a relationship with a father and a son. He said, if we do it right, it's a real important part of the film. And I want your son to play your son. And lo and behold, my kid turned out to be an okay actor.
How is that? Because obviously that's a unique relationship to bring onto a film set, I'm sure.
Yeah. At first, I'm the father trying to protect my 10-year-old boy who was really prepared and so professional, to the point, Damon, where at one point Joe would just throw lines out at him and I was getting nervous for him and I would try to coach him and he'd say, hey, Dad, when I'm talking to the director, if you could just let me make me do that, I would appreciate it. And I was like, oh, wow, look at this.
It's not going to be too much longer. He's going to be directing you. You know, that's how it's going to go, right?
Well, the funny thing is, the movie was made 2 years ago. Now he's 12 and he's into gaming and, he's kind of grown up a bit. And I said, look, you might get other offers. He goes, yeah. He goes, listen, if Marvel calls or Spielberg, I'll talk to them, but I'm not really interested in doing anything else. I said, oh, okay, I'll keep it in mind. Yeah.
I love it. Now, the other aspect of this, I wanted to talk to you because obviously I'm the MMA guy coming in here. I know you have been a massive fan and supporter of MMA for so many years. Of course, Kingdom, amazing show. It's really getting a whole new life on Netflix. But I know you did get to work with some mixed martial artists on this project as well. And I know you always kind of give back to that community. Is it fun to always kind of find a way to involve that? I love that you do that.
Yeah, man. There's a special. I have a special place in my heart for fighters, for people who are involved in the fight world, in any level, and it's why I did the show Fight World. Is I wanted to explore, what drives people to get in a cage or on a mat or in a ring, and so whenever I can, whenever Joe and I both. Can involve our friends that are ex-fighters or are fighters, we're all over it. And we're big supporters of both boxing and the MMA communities.
Absolutely. With that being said, Boss Level is fantastic. It's on Hulu. So obviously I recommend everyone watch it. I thought it was hilarious. It's a great movie. But let me ask you, I mentioned Kingdom there. Obviously it has gotten a great new second life. I covered it a lot when it was on, and I became friends with Jonathan Tucker through that show. And Jonathan's such a great guy. And I actually interviewed Brian Belasco right before the finale. But as a guy who's involved with the project, I imagine a lot of it is the passion of seeing the fans, but seeing it get the second life now on Netflix, like how much does that mean to you, seeing all the people kind of reaching out and who are just now discovering the show for the first time and realizing what an amazing series that was?
Yeah, well, thank you. And I got to tell you, it's probably the best thing that's ever happened in my career. I'll be honest with you. And, that show more than anything else I ever did, and that character and those people, I strived to make it as authentic as I could so that people like you would love it for its authenticity, and people who didn't know anything about MMA would love it because it was a good drama. And then when it didn't get a whole lot of exposure because of DirecTV, it was sad. It was really unfortunate because I thought I thought, man, maybe I'm crazy. I just think this is great television. And I mean, the silver lining in COVID, who knew? My agents at CAA put this together with Netflix, and the response that, it's as if the show just came out now, has been, as you know, it's just been overwhelming. And it was like, wow, better late than never. And people want more, which what a great way to leave it, like with people wanting more. So it's been, what a blessing, and I'm happy for everybody involved. And look, some good things came from this terrible time that we've had in the past year.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny because I talked to a lot of the fighters who were involved in the show, and it somehow always comes up the kind of experience they had. Cub Swanson always talks about it. Joe Stevenson. I talked to Greg Jackson. You know, all the people who were involved, and they rave about their experience on the show and how much it meant to them and the authenticity of the show. And I said that to Byron, you know, years ago. I said, you know, what I loved about the show is the authenticity that you brought to the characters and to the sport, because I don't know that we've really seen any other you know, film or show cover mixed martial arts so authentically, and that show did such a fantastic job with that.
Thanks, brother. Yeah, I mean, look, you know, for us, the feather in our cap was, you know, Dana White reaching out, saying how much he loved the show and believed, you know, these people, these characters, and he came down to the set and did his podcast one time from the Kingdom set, and that was, you know, he hated Warrior, and he loved Kingdom, so it was. You know, it was a testament to working really hard and getting it right.
Now, I hate to be that guy, but I got to be that guy. Would you ever revisit that character again if it ever came as an opportunity? Maybe a movie or something? Would that be something?
You know, Damon, if it was a movie, if it was a movie for a streamer, I definitely would. Is there another life? Are there more episodes? Are there more seasons? I don't think so. I think it ended prematurely by accident, but I think where it ended with me and Hughes fighting after my son dies, I thought it was a beautiful, poetic ending. But if it were a movie, I think we could explore a little bit more of it.
Yeah. Well, obviously you always get to do, you know, so many great action scenes, and I love that you still incorporate, you know, even like with a movie like Boston, like you incorporate different kinds of fighting styles, and you are obviously a very physical actor, but I love that you kind of incorporate all the different things you've learned in your movies into one movie, and Boston was a great example of that, as I said, with the action, the comedy, the drama. There's just so many layers to this particular movie, and I can actually see elements of your characters from past movies in this, like kind of rolled into one, like a lot of different things you learned in the past, I feel like do come out in this movie.
Yeah, you know, that's a great observation. You know, this was a chance for me to really take the lead of a film with great other, you know, a lot of great talent, and kind of carry it on my shoulders and get to kind of, you know, show the world, you know, what I've kind of learned in the last 25 years, both on the acting front and the fighting front. Two of the greatest, you know, passions of my life, the most important things in my life, I mean, aside from my family, are you know, is the fight world and the entertainment business. And I get to put them together, and we made this over the top kind of sit back for 90 minutes and forget about whatever's going on in the world.
Now, do you feel like, I mentioned the comedy chops, you know, because again, you are so well known for action and drama. Do you feel like this is going to be an avenue where you're going to start dipping into more comedy, maybe?
You know, I hope so. I really do, because my heroes, the guys that I work with, the guys that I've watched, and some of them I've gotten to work with, you know, guys like Bruce Willis, he was a master at that. So was Mel Gibson, you know, was a great actor when it was necessary, was physical, and then was funny. And you know, I mean, Harrison Ford, all these great people that I love and looked up to when I was a young actor. You know, it would be fun to just dip my toe in that water.
Yeah. Well, I imagine, you know, when you work with a guy like Mel Gibson, who has crossed every genre, you know, in film. I mean, obviously he's been a tremendous director as well, but you know, he's been in the dramas, he's been in the comedies. I don't know if he gets enough credit for his comedy acting. Naomi Watts as well. Like, again, you're talking about, you know, amazing like that. I imagine that just ups the level for everybody in a movie like this.
Yeah, look, when they come on set, you know, it's a thrill to have them there. And then you also know, boy, you better be at your very best, because you're working with the very best. And I've since done another movie with Naomi. We got to do something very different together. We play husband and wife. And, you know, it's nice. It's nice breathing that air. It's nice to be around such talented, devoted people, because that's not always the case. Look, I've had to do a lot of I've got to take some movies that people consider low-hanging fruit. You know, I have to feed the family. So it's a pleasure to get out there and do it at that level, you know?
Yeah. Well, I'm sure after, waiting a while, I'm sure you're just excited for people to see this. Like I said, I really enjoyed it. It was a fun movie, made me laugh, but it was also some great action beats. And like I said, a lot of heart in the movie. And after doing it, as you mentioned a couple of years ago, I'm sure you're just excited to have people see it now.
Yeah, I mean, look, we got a lucky break. We got, again, another silver lining in COVID is that theaters shut down, but Hulu came in and loved the movie as much as we did and believed in it. And now we got a great partner, and a lot more eyes are going to get on this film than normally would in a theatrical release. So I think it kind of worked out the way it's the best way it could have.
Yeah. Before I let you go, I talk about the physical roles. I talk about the comedy roles. Another thing I loved you in last year, unfortunately, again, got interrupted because of COVID, was your appearance in Billions, one of my favorite shows on television. So you played a fighter, you played an action star. Now you get to play a painter too, which was a fun role. And I loved you in that show.
Oh, thanks, brother. Yeah, again, it's I love being surprised. And when they called and offered me this role, I was like, well, this is interesting. It's certainly out of my wheelhouse. But they didn't want to lose the kind of grittiness of who I am. And I never seen the show. I know Giamatti for a long time, but I didn't know how many people love and watch the show. And it was a real pleasant surprise. I'm so happy I got to do it.
Yeah, seeing you play opposite Damian Lewis, who's tremendous. I've actually got to interview Maggie before when she was on Sons of Anarchy. She's tremendous. It really is. It was a great role. And like I said, I'm sure it was something different because you're playing a painter, an artist. It was like a really fun to see you in that role.
Thanks, brother. I appreciate it.
Well, Frank, thank you so much for taking the time to do this. Again, I love the movie. Boss Level is fantastic on Hulu. People should check it out. And thank you so much for doing this. It was an honor to talk to you today.
Oh, man. Thank you, brother. We'll talk soon again.